2018, 2019, you got back on the ice regularly. You found the Women's Hockey Club of Toronto. How much has that played a role in your life finding WHCT? You identify as a queer, demisexual, lesbian, and how much has that helped you, even from, I suppose, a personal side of things with your sexuality?
Yeah, I'm extremely fortunate. Like I said, growing up, we was a very, close community. And so I didn't know exactly what my identity was until, really university. But that was largely because I was just focused on my sports. So I didn't care to have a relationship to figure that out. And then we're like, oh, also if you add in demisexual, that makes sense why, it was just not there. Like there was no clear like, well, do you think they're attractive with it? And I'm like, I don't know. They're a person. I need something more for me to figure this out. Yeah, that explained a lot more about high school versus me just playing sports. But even within that, my family, my brother didn't, kind of engage with the like compulsory heterosexuality and like compet piece. And so I just kind of always knew that I could be, you know, attracted to whoever. Um, that was an option. Um, but it wasn't it's a thing and I'm gonna have to explain that. It was just that's what it could be. My brother would tease me about like dating and he'd be like, boyfriend or girlfriend. Like he didn't care about that. He just was bugging me that like I wasn't dating anyone and he didn't get it. So, even in that sibling relationship and teasing, it was also still, inclusive. Um and in my high school, like we were open about it all. We joked about, like, oh, this person's a player, but they were gay and slept with all the guys. But like that had nothing to do with it. It was just, making those comments. So, and even in sport, I didn't hear those, homophobic slurs or anything like that. I also, even in terms of like the racism, it wasn't there. Half my team was Asian at times, so I just was really fortunate in the space I was in, and I recognized kind of that bubble I got to live in. My brother, it wasn't like, oh, Vancouver's great. Like my brother very much still in all his sports growing up was hearing those things. And so for me, once I came to, Toronto and kind of figured out, okay, this is where my identity lies. I had made a comment about something and I was like, like the queer community center. I'm like, well, yeah, like this is like, oh, okay. Like it's like, right, I guess I can update you on this fact. Though like they had to know I was something other than just straight. Like I think it was there. Um, but yeah, so that kind of started 2016 or so, that I was kind of narrowing it down a bit and figuring that out. But then yeah, when I found the league, I was just, the year before I'd gotten back onto Ringette, and that was amazing. I was like, well, let's, Women's Ice Hockey Toronto, and the club came up, and I was like, great, awesome. I was like, I can get to this rink on public transit with a goalie bay. That's kind of one of the most important things. They needed goalies, and it was also free to play as a goalie. So I was like, done. You have checked all the boxes. Um, and I joined, and like I knew it was a queer league, but that wasn't really a factor at that point when I joined. I think I kind of took it for granted that, I that hasn't been something I really had to worry about or think about. My closest friends were all just queer because we all find each other anyway if we don't mean to. Um, yeah, so I joined and then kind of quickly realized like, oh, there's this real kind of value to that community piece. And that community piece is what shifted that relationship with the sport from, oh, this is a place I get to play hockey and I like it, it's fun, to I come to Saturdays not just to play hockey. Like, regardless of what happens on the ice, even if I have like just a poor game, that community piece seeing the friends, seeing that is there. And then with our league, it's like individual registration. So after you play a couple seasons, you've played with so many people and across the teams now at this point. Like we go out for drinks afterwards, and you know people at pretty much every table as the different teams come in after their games. So that also really helps because it really broadens that community. It's not just your one team. And so yeah, like that was something I really took for granted. I've always known the importance of like queer spaces. 100% is needed. Um, I just didn't realize, you know, they're often said, you know, like, oh, we're creating the safe space, or safer space for people, and we need that. Um, but there's also the piece of like, it is just your community. Doesn't matter if you've had positive experiences in your sports, you've been accepted on all your other teams. There's still a value and importance just for having that space. Um, yeah, like one thing I think about is just your average locker room conversation or post game drinks. Um, you know, talking about oh having kids or something like that. You know, in a queer league, you're more likely to hear about you know the process of family planning that you have to do, um, and getting to hear how that goes, what the process is, what the experiences are. Where you know a lot of folks, even if you have super supportive family and friends, if they're all straight, you know, you're not getting that knowledge. You're gonna have to seek that out and find that. Um, so something as simple as that, you're like, right, this is again a value of community, why we need to have these connections. Um, on top of you know having a safe space where you can play sports, and because I know you know, I'm just fortunate to have you know not been placed in those situations, but we know that's hockey. We know that's the culture of the sport. So, you know, that I also really kind of hold the league in that space, knowing that it's creating this space for the community.
Um, it's been around for 30 years as well.
Mm.
That's quite phenomenal. Yeah, it's an awesome hoodie. Um, how big has the impact been from Women's Hockey Club of Toronto?
Huge. You know, it started as a space for like as a lesbian league, you know, and creating that space for women. Um, and it was, you know, we have this really, you know, prime Saturday night spot that we've held from, you know, now it's 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock start times. Um, I know at one point there was kind of a challenge years ago to about like us getting to hold on to that ice time. Being like, well, you have to have Toronto residents, and so there was, you know, the league. Everyone went in. They're like, here's our postal code. Here's where we live. Like, don't even think about trying to like take this away from us. Um, and so now, you know, like we have that space, and that can be hard to get, just for women. Like girls hockey is having that issue where people are like, well, this is how we've always allocated ice. And it's like, yeah, because you've only ever had boys teams. So when, you know, we come in and you have a new, it's like, well, you kind of have to give us ice time. So the fact that we've been able to hold this like prime downtown ice time on Saturday evenings is huge. Um, and the league has you know progressed and has become like a queer trans non-binary league. For you know, so we still hold that space. We still have you know the name is still Women's Hockey Club of Toronto, um, and we're holding that space for queer women, but we are open and inclusive also for trans non-binary athletes to play. And so one thing this year is we got uh, funding through like the Maple Leafs Foundation, MLSE, and so we got new jerseys and we've gone back to like an old logo that just has like WHCT on it, kind of recognizing that transition of the league and kind of honoring the history of it and that place, while also you know not making our you know non-binary and kind of trans athletes wear a jersey that says women on it, you know, and recognizing that piece. So that's yeah, like that's huge, to be able to have that space and you know as a cis woman, I can't you know fully ever grasp kind of what that experience is for my trans and non-binary friends. Um, you know, I can imagine just thinking of kind of my own space within like a men's league, or when I played co-ed, and and getting that. So I realize, you know, kind of the special aspect that this league is able to have, and that you know that I think everyone in our league really protects that space to make sure that they, you know, have that. Um, and we have any issues like very quickly, like you're out. If you're you know going to be transphobic in any way, like you're not welcome here. Um, and I think that's something pretty special because I think we all know within you know queer spaces that doesn't necessarily mean you know you'll have plenty of LGBT spaces. So being able to have that inclusivity, I think, is huge, especially in sports.